All right. Thanks for joining another episode of Evening Crypto with your boy, the Real Shaw 256. And tonight, I just want to do a very, very quick update on the charts. Given the recent move in the price of Bitcoin, dipping down about 5% or so um, in the day. This move was something that we talked about earlier this week. Actually, in my previous video, if you want to go back, I'll show you what I was talking about on my last video on Monday night if you were paying attention. Then you probably, got this move, and you probably got my heads up on what was coming. So just wanted to, just gonna bring a little snippet of that of my last video. But before we actually do that, I do want to show you the current market cap, and I do want to go ahead and kind of recap what's been going on today within the altcoin and the cryptocurrency market, right? So we're currently sitting at 248 billion. That's definitely ticking down from where we were at just a few days ago at 268 billion. We're currently trading 61 billion, but most of that volume, most of that 61 billion in the last 24 hours has been selling pressure, has been selling volume, right? We also see Bitcoin dominance sticking up. It's still within the 69 percentile. Um, again, we've been preaching to you guys that 69% is it's not going to stop there. It's probably going to go past 70% in the next, especially after seeing a move like this. We definitely see a lot of investors moving their money back into Bitcoin as we do see that Bitcoin is down about 5% on the day on the last 24 hours. However, if you just go down the list here, you'll notice that I mean, a great majority, a big majority, I should say, is in the double digits negative numbers, right? Double digit red, except for head straight, whatever that is. Um, but everything else, is upwards of 5%. While Bitcoin is only down 5%, everything else is going to be almost in the double digits or actual double digits, like 14% here, 10, 13%. Let's see, 16%. Algorand, 12%. 10%. I mean, there's a lot of them that are just getting hammered by this by the. I mean, would you call it a dip? I mean, I guess you could call it a dip. It's enough. It's enough movement in the price of Bitcoin and the market to, definitely cause Peter Schiff to come out and talk shit about Bitcoin, saying how just poking fun of the whole entire crypto market, saying that what's up with Bitcoin? All the Bitcoin shillers were talking about Bitcoin being a hedge, and it's acting, it's reacting negatively to the trade wars and the dips in the traditional markets, and we'll go and cover that a little bit too tonight. So. Yeah, enough of a move to cause some waves, I guess, but not too significant really. We're hoping that the price will hold there. I personally will give you my take on what we've seen in the last 24 hours. But going back to what I was telling you guys at the beginning of the video, if you were paying attention to this channel, then you probably got my hint. I was hinting at this happening. I'll actually I'll actually play this for you guys. All right, so hopefully you got that. Hopefully I won't actually know till I go back and edit the video whether that sound actually came out correctly. But I was drawing this formation here of a bear flag basically, and it actually played out, right? We're looking at the 4 hour here, and let me redraw what I was pretty much going over in that video from Monday. Um, Yeah, no, that's a bunch of lines, but we actually need them. Um, and then from here to here, right, kind of forming this wedge here. I'll switch green so we can actually see the line of support there. and then line of resistance here. Although we poked above it, it's not, not really going to count that as a significant for what I'm trying to do here. All right, so drew that, and then the move playing out right here, right there. All right, textbook stuff, right? Textbook stuff. I mean, what is the low of this? The low is 95.28. It's telling you guys that it was going to go to about 9,400. So a little bit over 9,400. So I mean, this you can definitely say that this move actually played out. Got maybe you can say got front ran, but I do think this is definitely the move that played out. So hopefully you guys were paying attention to the channel and you were telling your friends about this. Hopefully you heed the advice. I hinted towards this actually playing out to the downside based on volumes and all the indicators where things were looking pretty droopy, pretty negative, and looking like that was the most likely move to happen. So again, hopefully you were paying attention to that. Now, what is next is probably the biggest question on your mind currently if you are trading Bitcoin and you want to know what to expect. I personally, I do think short term, I mean, and this is a little crystal ballish, so I'm really going to be careful with what I say here. Not financial advice, but here's what I think is going to happen. We've been doing these bear flags, right? So we got another one right here, forming right here, and then playing out, right? So that one played out. Here we go, boom. And then this one, again, this is another bear flag, the one I just painted for you guys, and then boom, played out. Okay, so we seem to be stuck in this bear flag trend. So what I would expect is for Bitcoin to actually trade upwards a little bit sideways, but majority upwards in price. So I do think we're going to come back and retest 98.50. It's not until we actually start closing some 4-hour candles above 98.50 to 9,900 where I start to get maybe we're out of the woods. But right now we're at 95, 96. That's currently where we're trading. 9,600. We'll just call it 9,600 there. Currently, that's where we're at, and I do think we're going to grind ourselves, above 96 to 97, 50, 98, maybe touch 98.50, and we're going to find a lot of resistance there at 98.50, 98.60. But then certainly we can wick above that and back into the 9,900. Now, the crucial part will be if we can close some 4-hour candles above this green line around the $9,900, right? If we start closing 4-hour candles above 9,900, that's where I kind of start to get a little skeptical of this actually being a bear flag, right? Whatever we've got building right down there. Let's actually look at the 1 hour to see what we're doing. Yeah, it's not looking too pretty right now. It's actually looking like it wants to actually come back down and retest this previous area of support around 9,400, right? As we said. So yeah, definitely looking at it like it wants to go down, but we're not there yet. I do want to see this again come back and retest 98.50 if we can't get above that, and if we can't close any significant candles above that area, then we're going to go back and retest certainly 9,400. and just depending, again, this is a reassessment, a continuous reassessment type of game where we look at this formation, and then okay, this is looking like a bear flag, and that was our assessment, and then boom, it played out. Okay, what are we doing next? Okay, again, looking like another bear flag. Actually, this one played to the upside. Okay, but then actually this is the 1 hour. It's not something that I want to actually. There we go. This shows it a little bit better, right? So again, after this move here, we reassessed and okay, we're doing another bear flag. Okay, boom, it played out. All right, so Again, right now, right here, right now, looking like it might actually do that. We're gonna have to wait to the close of this 4 hour and see what the next 4 hour does, which actually should be closing right about in the next couple of seconds. Actually, next 30 seconds, we're gonna get a close of this 4 hour and see how we respond in the next 4 hour, and see if we, like I was telling you guys, hopefully we'll come back and retest about 9,900, at least 9850, and see how Bitcoin actually reacts to that. All right, so that's the next biggest area of concern for me, to actually start planning on my next move. I did actually de-risk um, back over here when we were starting to. When we got to about this, actually, I didn't get the top obviously, but I de-risked somewhere around the 10,800 level, and it took a little bit off the precision and actually ended up working out pretty well. And then we've seen this bear flag play out. So again, not financial advice, but this is some of the things that I'm doing. You guys can follow in on that, or you guys, you might have your own strategy. So anyway, going forward, it does look like it breached this, and we're still trying to decide the macro trend here, because one, it looks like this whole macro trend here, looking at the big picture of things, this whole thing looks like a bull flag, right? Now, why do I say that? Because we've actually abandoned this this wedge or triangle, this ascending or symmetrical triangle. We actually abandoned it. We broke down below it, and we actually started opening and closing some significant candles below it. So that tells me that we certainly did break below it, or actually we broke below this formation here. So this kind of renders it as an invalid, or it as an we'll stick to that. It renders it as invalid, and kind of hints at the fact that, hey, we're actually still within this formation here, right? Bitcoin's just kind of hinting at that at this point, right? If we do come back and regain this bottom area of ascending support, and we start closing some significant candles above it, then the tune kind of changes a little bit. Things turn around. We start to get a little more optimistic on the price of Bitcoin, and maybe follow along this here, which is it's not completely out of the picture at this point. It is the least likely scenario of the two. Again, I do think, and look at the new 4 hours actually turning green, right here, right now, at around 95.90, and it looks like it wants to fight to the upside, which is a good thing. We definitely want to see that. But again, if we start closing some significant candles over here, we start changing our mindset onto what might happen, and again, we reassess from there. But again, looking like it wants to touch this 9,400 line after maybe some sideways action, price action here, maybe come back and retest again this area. If it does fail at least a couple of times, then we probably will see that bear flag playing out. That's kind of, again, that's a little bit of crystal ball type of thing. I don't typically like to do that, but that's kind of what Bitcoin's been doing in the last few weeks. So the trend is your friend, as they say, and it will be our friend until it stops doing that, right? Until there is a change in trend. But so far, that is what Bitcoin is telling us. All right, so going back to the macro trend here, the macro trend is telling us we're sort of in a bull flag here, this descending channel, and especially if we come back and retest these prior areas where I was telling you again on my last video, if it breaks down from all of this here, then we could come back and retest this bottom area of support here at 7,300, and I bet a lot of you guys didn't like me saying that at all, but we see that hey, it's sort of in the cards. I'm not getting ready. I'm not ready to actually call that, but I'm actually keeping my eye on this, especially to see in the next few hours what happens. If we actually don't if we don't come back and sort of form this bear flag here on the 4 hour, and it actually comes back to touch 9,400 and test it, then I do start thinking, there is some decisive movement to the downside, or there is some pretty sizable selling pressure to the downside again on Bitcoin's price, right? So if we start retesting this quicker and not start to form sort of an upward trend here, slight upward trend to start forming another bear flag, then most likely we're going to come back and retest 9,000 or 8,900, right where this green line is coming in. And again, from there, we could come back and retest, the low 7,000 range. And again, if we do start testing these, then the more likely that scenario becomes in my eyes. All right, you guys can ignore what I'm saying, or you guys can follow what I'm doing. However you guys want to do it, I'm just again sharing my thoughts and sharing this information with you guys. And then we take a look at the EMAs here. I actually want to declutter a little bit. That makes it a little clearer. And as you can see, based on the moving averages, it's actually kind of giving us the same information, right? It's telling us that, hey, we're looking very bearish at the moment. We're currently way below every moving average on the 4 hour. The 30 and the 21 being our first lines of interest here, but we actually broke down below it, and you can see once we broke down below it and we lost it, a very decisive move on Bitcoin's part to the downside, right? So, from that standpoint, from the EMA standpoint, looking very bearish in my eyes. If we don't come back and regain the 30, which that was what we were talking about as far as like regaining this rising area of support here, which is now going to be resistance on the way up. Unless we regain it and start opening and closing some 4 hours, maybe a daily up here, then we kind of start to change our tune to a more optimistic view there. But not until we get above the 30 or the 21 there, right? That's what you should be looking for in the next couple of days to see if we regain that. All right. Okay. Let's look at the daily. Again, let's go back to the macro trend here. Actually zoomed in a little too much. Let's get rid of this guy, give us a little bit more room. Actually, let's do this here. Right. So the daily is also looking pretty bearish, although there's a lot of work to do if we do want to come back and retest the lower end of 8,000. But look at that. There's other than previous lines of resistance. Geez, I kind of want to bring those back up. So let's actually do that. And go back to the big screen. There we go. And let's lower this a tiny bit. Here we go. All right. So, there's some areas of previous support that we have to get through, and then we're going to get picked up by these EMAs as well. It's probably a good idea also to bring up Fib extension tool. Let's actually zoom this a little bit more, and we are going to use more of a macro trend again. Retracement from this top to our ultimate bottom. Okay, let's make this a little wider here. All right, and let's go back to our big screen. All right, so here's what we got. We've got plenty of areas of support. We've got the 89 EMA actually sort of converging with the 0.5 here. So this will be a key, huge area here at 8,500, 85. We'll call it 8550 between the 89 exponential and the 0.5. Okay, that's so as you see. Before we actually start to call, the low 7,000s as a sure thing, Bitcoin does have to get through a lot of these levels of support, where it is going to find, again, support and a lot of buying pressure from here. So if this move were to play out to, retest the 382 down here at low 7,000s. You know, that again, I'm not calling that as the sure thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen, because it does have a lot of work to do on the downside. But I'm saying, you know, if we do start moving faster here and quickly into the 94 or lower $9,000 range, then that again becomes more and more apparent. Okay. Looking at the RSI at the current moment, looking like you know, this is on the daily, right? This is looking. I mean, I don't want to say resilient because we're in a downtrend and we just moved downwards, but look at that. I mean, Bitcoin just does not want to come back down into the bear control zone. Actually, staying sort of resilient. I think a lot of this will be determined by the next 4-hour candle, right? We're currently at 9,600. So a lot of this will be determined by this 4-hour candle here. Whatever happens here, if we do actually find more room to the downside in the next 4 hours, then I do think the bears are going to get control of the daily, and then this move here to lower 9,000s to high 8,000s again starts to show up down here as well. So we'll have some confluence with that in the price, and you know, that will become even more apparent than it already is, right? That's the daily. Let's actually, I must be doing something incorrect because it's actually taking my, no, actually didn't. No, I actually did. Yeah. It's actually taking my options out of here. If you guys know why that happened, please let me know in the comments. Not sure why that's happening on my trading view. Looking at the weekly, here's some very important stuff. The weekly is lining up with this previous line of support at the 21 here, which is a very typical move. There's you know, currently trading between the 30 simple and the 21 EMA here, which is a very typical thing on the weekly to have this, and therefore we cannot get too bearish on this, right? The very likely thing to happen here is that we do get a bounce off of the 21 here, as explained on the weekly, right at 8,900 actually 8,985 to $9,000 level, right? We should see an initial bounce, even if we move through these lines of support in between here. We should see a definite bounce at 9,000. Whether we hold up, that'll be the next point to evaluate at that point. However, again, 9,000 should get a lot of buying pressure, and then again we'll see if that holds. But this is definitely looking like it wants to actually do that. The weekly RSI got below the 21 exponential here, looking like it wants to actually come back further down and retest this bottom area here, the bottom area of the neutral zone. If it fails to maintain that, then you know the bears will definitely grab control of it, and the 0.85 of 8,500 is the next stop in my mind. The 0.85, which also lines up with the gap in the CME futures, right? So we could come back and fill that. So if we don't stop at 9,000, the next stop is 8,500. The CME gap right there, looking us in the eye, and quite potentially could come back and refill that space there at 8,500, and then we can take off from there. But we're still, you know, we're still within this macro trend, right? So unless we break this, like we did here, like we did break this area of support, then you know we can't say that. We can say that it has definitely played out its move, and we're now moving on to a different trend, right? But at this point, we're still within this trend, this macro trend, and unless we break this bottom area of support and we actually close a few dailies, maybe like a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day candle below it, then you know that starts to look even more bearish, and we could, you know, at that point talk about 5,700, 5,800, low 6,000. Okay, but not until we get to that point. So this is ultimate bear case scenario. Let's talk again about the more um, bullish case scenario, which would be the 21 here, which is also coming in right in the almost right in the smack middle of this descending flag here, or descending channel, if you will, which again, in the macro trend of things, does look to me like it could be forming a bull flag, right? But these things take a long time for them to play out, so I don't expect any move being played out at whether it's to break down or to break out. I do not expect a move out of this formation anytime soon. This is going to take a long time. So, say, say towards the end of September, maybe we could see if we continue down, right? If we continue down, then this would be telling us middle of September to late September. We could see a breakdown if we continue on the downside, right? Okay, so we're still about a month away from that, almost a month away from that. So don't get too panicky yet. Again, we could see a bounce at any point, really. I mean, there's no set rule, right? There's no set rule of where we're going to get a bounce. However, that luckily we do have these tools to let us know where expected bounces are going to be found within within the price of Bitcoin, right? So I think we're done with the macro trend. Let's go back into the lower time frames. I did squeeze this quite a bit, so let's bring it back up. All right. Yeah, there we go. We want to get that big and in your face there. All right. So we're good there. Yeah, the next 4 hours does look like it's fighting for it. Next 4 hours will be pretty important in my mind too, because again, we definitely want to see. I mean, both scenarios. I just realized both scenarios are actually pretty bearish. If we actually, start grinding upwards into this previous area of support, now resistance, that's still a bear flag. And the other case is if we continue momentum to the downside, that we're going to come back and revisit low 9,000s. Again, those two scenarios are bearish. The only real bullish case scenario, again, is if we come back and regain this rising area of support here, this green line across here. All right, so I think that should do it for Bitcoin. And so let's talk about some altcoins. Everything's getting hit pretty hard. Link, I gave you guys some points of, was telling you guys about this previous move here. Told you guys about a week before it actually happened that this would be a likely move. I gave you guys the target, but then we do have continuation, and also give you guys more targets as to where we would be headed. And look at this move here. This measured move actually played out perfectly. We're now at $1.85. But we did actually touch this bottom line here. What was it? We'll call it $1.81, right? And I did give you guys the heads up on that one. Was looking like it could actually retest that. We did have an initial bounce off of it, but then again, with Bitcoin dumping the way it did today, Chainlink is not the exception. Everybody got hit pretty hard. I think Chainlink is down. What is it, about 9% on the day, something like that. Let's actually go back to this guy. It'll be a lot easier. Chainlink down to spot number 20 on the chart, down 20.3% on the day, in the last 24 hours. But Chainlink, disappointingly, is actually losing some spots on the chart, the CoinMarketCap chart as well, which is again pretty disappointing to see. Let's look at looking at the 4 hour. I do think in the shorter term of things, I do think we should see a bounce here, especially again if we see Bitcoin trade sideways. This could be potentially a quick scalp, right? If you want to enter here, that's not a bad play, and and then play it to the upside, and then you'll probably, I would say, probably sell at 2.05. That's probably going to be a likely area for Chainlink to actually reject from and come back and retest this again this now new line of support at $1.81. All right, that's that's a quick little scalp, quick little trade. What would that get you? Let's actually put a measurement move on it. About 11%. That's not a bad day. It's not a bad day, not at all. I mean, pretty much regaining or negating the losses from the last 24 hours. So keep that in mind if you guys want a quick little scalp, something that will take you maybe a day or less than that. I mean, crypto markets are pretty sporadic and volatile. You guys know that. So it could be, as little as minutes to, maybe a day or so for it to actually come back and retest $2.05, right? Looking at the 3 hour, everything's looking pretty droopy there. 2 hour, this is looking pretty much the same, but below every moving average. RSI is in the bearish control zone, so we might actually just grind down here for a little bit before it actually decides to move up and have a bounce. But I do see initially we should have a bounce. So buy here in the low 180 range and sell at 205. That is something we'll come back on the next video and see how we did on that call. All right, let's move on to Litecoin. Litecoin, we're at the 2 hour. Again, I gave you guys gave you guys another call. This is here from our last video, this little target here from our last video, telling you guys where we were likely to head with Litecoin, and we actually hit that. We actually kind of undersold that, undershot it by a little bit, actually $2 worth of price action there. But overall, not a bad guess, based on what Litecoin was giving us. That is the 2 hour. The 2 hour does look like it breached that area of support. Is it finding some support there? No, it's actually kind of doing it wants to do what I was telling you guys that I think Bitcoin is going to do. So Litecoin might actually start building that bear flag, which will eventually lead to another move downwards, especially if Bitcoin again dumps again. So always contingent upon what Bitcoin is doing. That's what these markets are going to do. If you've been here long enough, you know that everything's as far as that goes on the moves downwards. And this is going back to what I've been telling you guys and always preach in this channel is whenever you see a move or Bitcoin moving to the downside, having a dip, you see all the altcoins moving down, but significantly losing more price than Bitcoin does. So in this case, Bitcoin going down 5% in the last 24 hours, every alt is going an extra 5% on top of that. A lot of them losing double digits, and then when Bitcoin actually has a bounce, call it a 5%, 10% bounce, then you see the altcoins actually not keeping up with those sort of bounces. So again, it's just this is just a continuation or a continuing game of pretty much depletion of these other altcoins. So be very, very careful. If you are trading alts, I hope that it's just some scalp trades here and there, and that you're getting in and out pretty quickly, especially if you play in the top 10, top 15, maybe top 25, right? Okay, so that's what we've got for Litecoin. Let's actually look at the 4 hours, see if there's better news there. Now RSI is looking pretty bearish. It's below any major and simple moving average. Yeah, I mean, I'm not actually too excited about Litecoin right now. I'm not feeling even a bounce really. It's, if anything, I think maybe a little bit more continuation to the downside. We're actually going to give you guys another line of support here, where we should find Litecoin having some support. But as of right now, it does look like it, it, it could come back and retest this 67.75. But then if we don't get above it, it's very likely that we do come back and retest 60. What is this? $61. Yep, $61. So if you're a Litecoin enthusiast, $61.75 is your next target. That is looking like the biggest target. And I'll actually move this so that we have it for next reference. There we go, 61.87. All right, so we'll use that for reference for the next video. All right, Ethereum looking actually like it wants to, yeah, looking like it lost its previous area of support right here. I told you guys on my last video, I gave you guys sort of a free trade call that actually hasn't worked out so far. We do have this this textbook line of resistance here with a possible breakout right around here, but we actually broke down further below it. So this could be said that for the time being, we probably won't see this actually break out, right? We shouldn't expect a breakout anytime soon, especially since we did get rejected off this line and actually got below every major and simple moving average, as we see everything else having the same sort of reaction. So nothing really to lay out there. Let's see what it's trying to do. Let's actually go to the 2-hour here and see. Yeah, this is looking probably even worse than Litecoin is. Let's actually put our next support target for. Let's see, is this a valid support line here? It's not. I mean, it's debatable, right? But we're actually below it, so it's it blew past it. So let's go on to the next. Look for our next area of support, which could technically be coming down here at 160. Yeah, let's call it 160. There we go. Oh, I thought I did that. I guess I didn't. All right, so 160. That's our next area of interest there for Ethereum. That's where I think we're going to find some definite support and maybe a bounce off of there. But right now, doesn't look like it wants to actually come back and retest this line of resistance here, and forget about coming back above this 184 line. That doesn't look like it wants to happen. Does not look like it. This is as bad as we've seen it in a very long time in the crypto markets. So maybe for a lot of you, it's probably not a good time to be testing these markets right now. The market always wins. So let's actually, I would advise, not financial advice, but I would some personal advice. I'd probably say, yeah, you might want to stay away for the next couple of days until we actually see the markets react and have a positive reaction or bounce off of these lower price points. Or if you're a long-term hodler, then you're probably loving the action. You can probably pick up some cheap Ethereum, Litecoin, Link at these prices. And not really care about what's going on in a trader's world, right? So there's always that. Let's look at that. Let's actually look at one more altcoin, which is Cardano. And yeah, very clearly setting lower lows here, continuing to make lower lows. Did look like it wanted to turn around and actually um, set a new trend to the upside, but then it got ruined by Bitcoin's latest move. So just again, another example of why be very careful with trading altcoins, because any move to the upside can definitely be stifled by a dip in Bitcoin, right? So there is that. 4 hour. Let's actually look at the 2 hour. See what the 2 hour is looking like. Yeah, looking very, yeah, looking like conviction to the downside. Really. Uh, look at the RSI of the 2 hour. Let's actually go back to the 4 hour. See how the RSI is looking. Yeah, same. There's confluence there. Let's look at the daily really quick. Again, confluence there, breaking below the 21. I do think Cardano is going to actually keep running downwards. I do want to give you guys a target since we're looking at it. Could this be the next area? Yeah, this looks like the next area of interest there for Cardano. It's actually getting pretty close to it already. So 0.039 cents. That's our next area. All right, so if you're into Cardano, that's don't buy yet. I do think we're going to come back and retest 0.039. That might be a better point of entry for you guys. So about 0.05 cents. Yeah, 0.05 cents. All right, let's just take a quick look at traditional markets and we'll get out of here. Looking like traditional markets, just some sideways consolidation, but does look like it wants to build this flag here. Does look like it might be maybe just a slight lower low here, slight lower low there, and then the bottom area does look like it wants to build sort of a wedge, right? Ascending wedge, if you will, which again could play out to be a bear flag. Now there is negative correlation right now between the price of traditional markets and Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin having a dip, pretty massive dip, and traditional markets actually having a bounce to the upside, right? It does look like it retested the 30. We'll see tomorrow when markets do open if we get a rejection or we actually open higher. And if we do open higher, I do think we're going to come back and retest 294. That could happen tomorrow. By the end of trading day tomorrow, we could come back and retest 294. All right. So if you're in traditional markets, that's that's an area of you should be paying attention, unless Mr. Trump comes out in between now and what is it, 9:30 a.m. East Coast time. He could definitely come out and spoil the party, saying that the trade wars are going to the next phase, right? Currently, the RSI, looking at the daily here, looking like it's making a stab at the 21 exponential here, right in the middle of the neutral zone here in the RSI. So again, it's looking like it could actually make the move to 294, right? Definitely looking like it. All right, so I'll leave it at that. You guys let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Just wanted to get on here and give you guys a quick update. I know I just probably ran over the time that I was thinking, but hopefully you are getting something of value in exchange for your time in this channel. Let me know down below if you are. Please like the video. Also, do sign up for any content that we put out by hitting the subscribe button there, and also the notification bell, so that again you get notifications on your app about these videos. All right guys, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great night.